Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. I'm your host, Priscilla Davies, and let's just do a quick check-in. Maybe let's share a breath together, yeah? Okay, I changed my mind. I don't feel like it. How have you guys been? How was your week? My week was busy as hell. But also a lot of fun. A couple days ago, I got to see Lil Kim perform. The baddest. Although that's Trina, but Lil Kim, the Queen Bee. I got to see her perform a couple days ago at Soho House out here in LA. And oh my God. Let me say this much. It was the shortest set of my life that I've ever experienced. I mean, she literally was in and out. But she's Lil Kim. She can do what she wants. She looked amazing. She had a beautiful bust down, okay, down her back. She had like the wet hair look, blonde. She looks so good. I got some footage, but unfortunately, I can't really share the footage because she was literally experiencing a wardrobe malfunction during her whole entire set, which is maybe why the set ended so quickly. Because it was just nipple slips left and right. She had one of her people had to come out and pull her corset up. I actually got that on film. So unfortunately, I can't really share it because I don't think that's fair to be putting her stuff out there. But she still looked amazing. She was incredible, and gosh, she looks so good. Like, she looks so good. I'm so happy for her, and it was just such a great time. So I want to say shout out to Lil Kim. I love you. I've loved you my whole life. I hope we can be best friends in the future. All right, now that I got that out there, let's jump into our show, shall we? Yes, we shall. So, a few episodes ago, we were talking about this discovery that I had that most dudes out here don't want kids. Even all these dudes out here most fathers, I should say, don't want their freaking kids. And we talked about it. We were talking about it in reference to this guy who was asking whether or not he was responsible for filling up his baby mama's refrigerator, the baby mama where the kids be at, the house his kids are at. He was wondering if whether or not he should fill up the refrigerator and if that was his responsibility. So we were chatting about that, and I posted some of those clips, and people were in the comments talking and giving their perspective on stuff, and I just felt like there was one little piece that I did not address, and I want to address that today. First and foremost, I think it's important for women to recognize these differences between us and our male counterparts, especially if we want to have kids with them. But it's like, what happens now? Now that you understand, like, okay, a lot of these motherfuckers out here don't really want kids. They only want kids if they love the mother. We talked about that, right? They only want kids to control the mom, or they only want kids, when it's convenient, or for the dad clout, all the benefits you get. The question is, if you understand that, what happens now? What are we supposed to do with that information as women? And that's what I wanted to hone in on and focus on today. Ladies, let me say this. If you want to be a mother and you want to have children with a male partner, you have to be mentally, emotionally, and physically and financially prepared to be a single mother. Period. Point blank. It doesn't matter if you're married, if you're not. It doesn't matter if you're common law married, if you're just a baby mama. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how great that guy is, how amazing of a father. It doesn't matter. And it's important for women to get that through their heads, because a lot of women have rude awakenings when they have children with their male partners, with their husbands, with their baby daddies, with their boyfriends. A lot of women have rude awakenings when these motherfuckers suddenly don't want to be invested in the family anymore, or they never were invested to begin with. And this applies across the board. I know a lot of women are thinking, yeah, that's why you need to put a ring on and get married. I'm also talking to married women too. Because there are a lot of married single mothers out there. There are a lot of women who are married and still doing it all by themselves. And literally, it's pointless to even have a partner because that motherfucker ain't doing shit. So this also applies to you as well. Okay? You have to be mentally prepared to go it alone, whether you have a spouse or not, whether you are in a committed relationship or not, whether or not that man seems like the best freaking dad in the world or not. It doesn't matter because things can change on a dime. And that is what women have to be aware of and understand when they're out here procreating with any man. Any man. Even the nicest freaking dude out there, you never know. You never know. The day that that divorce paper comes in, the day that y'all decide to break up, the day that he decides that he's going to start cheating on you with so-and-so, you're going to get a whole different person. All right? So it is critical. I want all women to understand this. If you are going to have a child with a man, you better be prepared mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially. You better be prepared to go it alone. And I really want to emphasize that with married mothers as well, okay? I know too many married mothers who are single mothers, who are doing all the work by themselves, and they are shocked. And they're like, but he was such a good husband. He was such a good boyfriend. We were equal. He believes in feminism and equality and all that stuff. There's been studies out there that show that even the men who believe in feminism when it comes to the actual division of labor in the household, they're still not pulling their weight. Most men believe that it is the responsibility of their wife, their baby mama, the mother of their children to take care of the children. It is their sole responsibility. So don't get it twisted thinking that just because he was a good boyfriend, now that you have this kid, now he's going to he's going to continue that. That may not be the case. When you're the only one that's up at 4 a.m. changing diapers and bottle feeding and breastfeeding and all that stuff, don't be surprised because a lot of women get that rude awakening. So I want women to understand that if you want to have children, you have to want to have children for yourself, most importantly, because you might end up doing it by yourself. The vast majority of women are doing it by themselves, married and otherwise. So get that through your head. A ring is not going to protect you from a trash baby daddy, okay? So understand that. And it's important for women for us to listen to other people's stories. The smartest people out there are the ones who can learn from other people's mistakes. There were some people who commented on that post, and I just wanted to read some of these comments because I was like, oh God. One person commented saying, a former trad wife on here said something to the effect of, quote, her children being able to eat depending on her husband, their biological father, being in love with her, end quote. We talked about that. I literally played a clip of Corey Holcomb, the comedian, talking about how most men, and he guesstimated 80%, this is a man speaking, that 80% of men only love the children as much as they love the mother. Okay? This trad wife said that her babies only eat when their daddy is in love with her. Woof. Here's another comment. This guy says, facts. My dad is one of them, speaking about these fathers who don't want children. He does everything for my stepmom who divorced him, and he's still supporting her but abandoned his kids at high school age. And is currently we've been doing it all alone. He even tried to buy a kidney from my sister. I was informed about this, and I'm like, if you was a good dad, you wouldn't be trying to buy a kidney. Regardless, he's getting his karma. Okay? All right? This is another quote, another comment. A man once told me he could only marry a woman if she had his baby first, because the baby tied them together forever. Then and only then he would truly know she was really down for him. Yikes. We talked about this. Men be having these children so they can control the wife. They can control the baby mama because they know that women have that maternal instinct and that most women will do almost anything for their children. Remember, ladies, maternal instincts are not equal to paternal instincts, okay? Someone had mentioned online that paternal instincts aren't real, that they were invented by the patriarchy. It's women who be looking after children. It's women who really give a damn. And it's important for us to listen to other people's experiences. Whenever I make these posts and a bunch of people come in the comments, I always hope that other people are reading the comments and seeing the truth and not ignoring it. That's the key. Like, I said this before. A lot of times, we women will make excuses for men. A lot of times people come in my comments and be like, y'all need to stop dating these dusty men. Y'all need to stop having children. You need to pick the right men. Here's the thing. The patriarchy trains women to ignore the red flags. The patriarchy trains women to accept bad behavior from men. This is just facts. Point blank, period. We've been trained since we were little kids that boys will be boys. Boys mature slower than girls. Oh, that's just how boys are. You just have to accept their bad behavior and always give them grace, right? So we've been trained to ignore the red flags. So we have to do the work to untrain ourselves or retrain ourselves to pay attention to the red flags so that we don't get caught up in this type of situation. But to be quite honest, it doesn't really matter because this is like the average guy that you're dealing with here. So, one of the things that I love about TikTok and social media in general is that women are sharing their stories with each other, and we're starting to see women waking up. Women are waking up to the reality that this is not just isolated incidences that they're dealing with. This isn't just me alone. I'm the only one that's dealing with this. Women all over the world are dealing with this nonsense-ass behavior. And thankfully, because of social media, we're able to realize that and hear other women's stories. And now we're starting to be like, oh, wait a minute, it's not just me. It's not just me who picked wrong. If all these women are out here having the same experience, then is it really women's fault for picking wrong, quote unquote? There was this TikToker who made a post about how she broke up with her boyfriend because of TikTok, because she learned so much from freaking TikTok, and it woke her eyes up to the reality that all of us women are experiencing the same stuff. I wish I could have found it. I can't. I couldn't find it. I tried to look for it, but I couldn't find it. But I actually had one of my followers DM me, and this is what she said. And I was like, wow. This is what one of my followers DM'd me. She said, quote, "Your videos on patriarchy are changing my life right now. So empowering. Your videos literally helped me get over an ex quick." And quick was in all caps. Okay? We're seeing this phenomenon happening of women talking to each other. This is why gossip is considered a negative. This is why gossip is demonized so much in this world. And it's because gossip protects women. Gossip keeps women safe. And the patriarchy wants women to be vulnerable. So that's why they demonize gossip. Okay? And now we have the ability to communicate with each other through the internet. So it's not just your little circle of friends that you're talking to, but you're seeing all these women out there who are sharing these same experiences. And it is so beautiful to see how we're waking up. Because before the internet, right, you only had your little small circle of friends. That's it. And your little small circle of network. That's it. So, everybody in that circle is sitting here telling each other, oh, everything's fine, everything's good. You don't know. You think you're the only one that's experiencing this. You think it's only your man that's acting like this. It's only your man that doesn't want to clean and cook. It's only your man that doesn't want to take care of the kids. It's only your man that is treating you badly. It's only your man that's saying these wild things to you or being, verbally, emotionally, physically abusive to you. It's not. And the internet is showing women that. And so we're starting to have our eyes opened and awakened to the fact that we're being conned. We are being conned by a system that benefits from our free labor and our free sex. We are being conned. And it's so nice to see that women are waking up to that reality. And it's true, yo. If you understand what's going on, you will never, ever, ever be chasing after a man. You will never, ever be getting your feelings hurt from these men. If you understood that you're really just being hustled by a system, the patriarchal system, you would never be doing all this. We've been brainwashed by these rom-coms and by this Disney bullshit to think that, oh, you just got to give this guy a second, a third, 19th chance and he'll finally get it right one day. We've been brainwashed to think that our Prince Charming is going to come and make everything right. And there's no Prince Charming. It's fake. It's a lie. It's propaganda. To keep us trapped and to keep us willingly putting ourselves in a position to be exploited, used, and abused. So it's important for y'all ladies to listen to the other ladies who are telling their stories, okay? And not to have that, well, not me energy, couldn't be me, because a lot of comments you'll see will be like, I was that girl who said it could never be me. My man loves me. He would never. And now here I am at the food stamps office. And my man is out with a new bitch. And here I am with our children at the food stamps office. That is how these dudes can up and abandon their kids and go get a whole new family and be the best super dad to that whole new family and screw the previous family, screw those other kids. It's not an accident. It's not a coincidence. It's sewn into the fabric of the system. And women, ladies, sisters, I want you guys to be mentally prepared for that reality. If you're going to have a child, you got to be prepared to go it alone, because you're only the lucky ones. Only the lucky ones have real, true blue partners, male partners, only the lucky ones. And it's a tiny, tiny percentage. And if you're a betting person, I wouldn't take that bet. So moving forward, ladies, I want you really to understand what you're dealing with and understand that, like, we really have different perspectives. Like, a lot of times women, we project our perspectives onto men and we project our feelings and our thoughts onto men, and they don't feel that way. We're like, oh, well, if it was me, but they are not you. And that's why you are consistently frustrated and confused and wondering, why the fuck am I experiencing this? Why is my partner doing this? Why is my partner acting like, because they don't act and operate the way we do. And we need to stop believing that they do. You got to untrain your mind, untrain your brain, take out, re-brainwash yourself to realize the truth. Clear out that patriarchal fog, the smoke and mirrors, blow that shit out, all right? And see the truth. And the truth is, that motherly instinct and that fatherly instinct are not the same. And as a matter of fact, we should talk about this in the future, because it's not, I want to be clear. This is not, in my opinion, this is not an issue of nature. This is not a nature thing. This is a nurture thing. There was a study done that showed that mothers' brains are different than fathers' brains, and mothers' brains are activated in different areas when it comes to child rearing and taking care of children. And that same activation doesn't happen in fathers' brains, okay? And these are the types of activations that, help them stay attuned to their children, right? You don't see those same activations in fathers' brains. However, you see that activation in single fathers' brains who have custody of their children. You see that activation in gay fathers' brains who have two men raising their children. So this is something that is a nurture, in my opinion, is a nurture thing as opposed to a nature thing. This is something, men can step up and change and be attentive to their kids and activate that paternal instinct within them. It's possible. But until we as a society demand that, they're going to keep doing that same old two-step. The same old, I'm just here chilling while my baby mama does everything, while my wife does everything. And I'm sitting here playing, freaking video games all day. But I'm the head of the household. So that's it, ladies. I just want us to be really aware and hip to the hippity hop about what you are dealing with, because part of what the patriarchy has done is convinced women and brainwashed women to ignore the red flags, to make excuses. When dudes will tell you who the hell they are, we turn around and we're like, no, well, he doesn't really mean that. I mean, yes, he did. Yes, he does. Yes, he did. Listen, pay attention and stop making excuses for these men and their behavior. Protect yourself, ladies. Look out for number one. And with that being said, let's move on, okay? We haven't done a doc deep dive in a while. And I was like, you know what? I saw this documentary on Netflix called Tell Me You Love Me. Did you see that? Brand new documentary on Netflix called Tell Me You Love Me. Y'all, this documentary, wow. Wow. I mean, I don't even know. Wow. Do yourself a favor and check it out if you have the time. We're going to talk a little bit about it. So basically, this documentary is about Anna Stubblefield, who was a former Rutgers University professor, ethics professor, no less. And she also specialized in working with people with disabilities, and she also specialized in like race politics and how race, applies in academia, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically, Anna Stubblefield was a professor at Rutgers University, and she was giving a presentation about communication techniques with nonverbal disabled people. And one of the students who was watching this presentation was named John Johnson, okay? And John Johnson was super interested and excited because he has a brother named Derek Johnson, who is a nonverbal man with cerebral palsy, okay? So he has this brother and he's like so excited about this. So he reaches out to Anna Stubblefield and is like, hey, I have this brother. I heard you were talking about this thing called facilitated communication, and I'm really interested in it. And I wanted to see if maybe you could, meet with my brother and see if he would be a candidate for facilitated communication. And facilitated communication, this is where shit starts to get crazy. So facilitated communication is basically a technique that people who work with nonverbal disabled children and adults created in order to access communication with them. And basically how it works is like this. They have a little keyboard where they can go in and type out their thoughts. But facilitated communication is where the facilitator will hold on to the person's hand or arm or finger and help them to hit those keys. Because some people with certain disabilities like cerebral palsy have motor control issues. So they have a hard time, hitting small keys because they have motor control issues. So the facilitator will come in and maybe hold their hand, hold their shirt, hold their shoulder, their elbow, anything to support their hand, their arm, so that they can push the buttons. Now, obviously, right off the bat, we can see where there can be a problem here, right? Because if you're holding on to somebody's hand, like, who's to say that you're not consciously or subconsciously guiding that hand, right? So keep this in mind. So John Johnson sets up a meeting with Derek Johnson and Professor Anna Stubblefield, okay? And Anna goes in there and she meets with him and she tells Derek Johnson's family, his mom and his brother, that, you know what, he's a good candidate and she'll continue working with him. Okay. So they proceed over, I don't know, months. I don't know how long this was, but they proceed to do these sessions, where she's working with him and working on building this facilitated communication and working on getting him to be verbal or, not, to be able to express his ideas non-verbally. Right. And, things are going great. At first, they show us transcripts from the actual facilitated communication keyboard, and the documentary shows us actual transcripts. So you can see, like, at first, his responses and his communication is very rudimentary. Y for yes, N for no, simple things like that. A lot of yes and no questions. Eventually, we start to see that his responses become more and more in depth, right? They go from one word answers to, short phrases to full complete sentences to full ideas, full thoughts, right? And we can see this in them communicating. And it gets to the point that he's doing so well with Anna that she helps the family enroll him in a college course at the community college. Okay. And he takes his college course and she sits in there with him and she's helping him facilitate, and he's responding and, engaging. He's reading the books and he's engaging in discussion. And eventually, Anna, I don't know if she hired, but she got somebody else to work with him in his classes, a woman named Sharonda. So Sharonda would help him in his classes when Anna wasn't there, okay? And she would help him work on his reports and work on his classwork and help him go through everything, right? So everything is going great, right? And then Anna tells the story, which, by the way, Anna's in this documentary and she's speaking for herself, okay? And we're going to explain a little bit why she's in this documentary at the end. So everything's going great. He's doing better and better. I mean, he's making all these wonderful strides. And then Anna tells the story about how one day mind you, as things are going on, she realizes that she's starting to fall in love with Derek. Okay. She's starting to fall in love with Derek, with his mind. He has this amazing mind and, he's a nerd just like her, and she's falling for him. And she talks about the day that they, quote, profess their love for each other. And she says that, they're typing on this thing during one of his sessions, and she tells him that she loves him. And he responds, I know. I love you too. And according to her, he then asks her to kiss him. And she does. And she talks about how that was the beginning of their relationship. And they continue to have an intimate relationship. They even have sex, according to her, as she put it. They made love, quote, made love. Yikes. Okay. In her school office, and mind you, she's speaking openly about this. Okay. She laid him down on the goddamn floor. Okay. And they, quote unquote, made love, according to her. All right. So after this relationship continues, eventually it gets to a point where she's like, we got to tell your family that we're in love. We got to let them know. And not only does she want to tell the family that they're in love, but she also wants to tell the family that Derek wants to move out, and he wants to move out independently on his own into assisted living because he's an adult and he wants his independence. That's what he's been telling her on this facilitated communication device. Okay. So she sits down with the family. Oh my God. I can't imagine being, anyway, she sits down with the family and she tells the mother and the brother. And of course they're flabbergasted. Not only does she tell them that they're in love, she tells them they've been intimate, everything. They are flabbergasted. And rightfully so, they immediately end all contact with her. Okay. They end all freaking contact. They're freaked the hell out. They don't know what the hell is going on. And they go to the goddamn police. Okay. Smart. I got to give them 100. They did everything right. They went to the police. They went to the literal SVU. Okay. The Special Victims Unit in New Jersey, which, by the way, this story takes place in the county that I grew up in, New Jersey, which is crazy. I was like, oh my God, like I know all these places that these people are talking about. I didn't know about it because I was obviously living out here at the time. But yes, they go to the SVU unit, and they report this woman, right? And so the SVU unit, mind you, when they reported this woman is out here still trying to access Derek. She reached out to Derek's like his like day program that he used to go to, and was like, hey, like sneaky deaky, like, hey, you know, I was wondering if I could come in and like see Derek through the program, not through his parents. She snuck around through the program to try to get in, right? All this shady stuff. So what ends up happening is the SBU is like, all right, we're going to do a sting operation. They have the mom call. The mom calls Anna and tells Anna, hey, she gives her this fake story about how Derek really misses her. She thinks that Derek really misses Anna, and the fact that, you know, he's been like acting out lately and she's really concerned. And so she basically sets her up. And this is what Anna said to her in that conversation.
He's the most important person in my life. I'm the most important person in his life. We're so happy when we're together. I'm lucky if I get through 20 minutes of any day without thinking about him. If I did things like bite my hands, I'd be biting my hands right now, you know.
Okay. She said, I would be biting my hands right now too if I bit my hands, because that's one of the things that the mom said that Derek was doing. He was biting his hands, et cetera, et cetera. She said, he is the most important person in my life. I'm the most important person in his life. We're so happy when we're together. I'm lucky if I get through 20 minutes of any day without thinking about him. What the feasity fuck? Okay? And she would be biting her hands too if she did that. Wow. And in that conversation, she incriminates herself and says, yes, we, quote, made love on multiple occasions in that conversation. And that's all they needed to get her. That's all they needed to get her. So in 2015, Anna was found guilty on 2 counts of first-degree aggravated sexual assault and sentenced to 12 years in prison. Okay? 12 years in prison. However, in 2017, the former professor filed an appeal and it was granted, and her conviction was revoked on a technicality because in her trial, the court had dismissed testimony related to facilitated communication. And so when her appeal was granted, Stubblefield accepted a plea deal for a lesser charge and was released from prison after serving only 2 years. Hence why she was in the documentary to speak for herself, because she was out after only 2 freaking years, okay? And she got out on a technicality and was able to parlay that technicality into a plea deal for lesser charges, okay? So one of the things that, you know, one of the first, like, my spidey senses are tingling moments in the documentary was when they were talking about her background, okay? So Anna Stubblefield comes from a family where her parents both worked with disabled people. Her mom, both of her parents had PhDs, and her mom worked with disabled people. So she had been exposed to like people with disabilities from the time that she was a child. And this is how she describes like how she felt about being a child. Like, I don't know. This is how she described it. Just take a listen about her childhood and how she felt about disabled people.
When I was a child, I came from an unusual family. My mom did work with people with a range of physical disabilities, with intellectual disabilities, who came to the house. My mom had a t-shirt with the slogan, "Labels are for jars, not people." I found disability interesting because of that exposure.
I found disability interesting. You know, those disabled people, they're just so interesting, you know? Kind of like a science experiment.
And so I got my dad to build me a pair of crutches so I could pretend to be post-polio or have cerebral palsy or something like that. And tie blindfold on and spend all afternoon.
During her elementary years, I taught her how to write Braille. At her request, I got her a blind pen pal. She was interested in sign language, and I think she may have learned some of that.
I was fascinated by the way in which, it's not really the impairment, it's the environment that creates impairments for people.
Did you hear what she said? She said that she had her dad make her a pair of crutches so she could pretend that she was post-polio as a child. That she would blindfold herself all day so she could experience being blind. So she could act like she had cerebral palsy. How fun. How fun. If I was a disabled person, I would slap the shit out this hoe. I'm sorry. How are you kidding me? It is so clear that this woman is fetishizing disabled people. It's so freaking clear. And that started as a child. What the hell do you mean? You were sitting here pretending like you were disabled. Oh my God. And another aspect of this that, piqued my interest and also was discussed in this is the race aspect, because Derek Johnson is a black man. Derek is a black man. His family's black. They live in Irvington, New Jersey, which is a very urban, very black area. And it's a disenfranchised area. And this woman was from West Orange, New Jersey, which is a middle class to somewhat upper middle class area, depending on what part you're in, she's educated, she's all, and here she is, it gave very white saviorism. That's what it gave. Because she came into their house and basically told them that they don't know what's good for their own child, their own sibling, their own child, that she knows better than they know. Okay. And it gave very much like, it just gave white saviorism, and it gave very much fetishizing, because guess what? Anna was married this whole time that all this stuff was going on. And what race do you think her husband was? Black. Okay. So your husband's black. Now you're falling in love with this black disabled man that you're doing all this white savior politics for, telling the mom and the brother that they don't know better and that you are the one and da-da-da-da-da. Thinking that you know better just because, you're white. Of course you know better than those dumb black people from the hood, right? And part of that was Derek's name, okay? So in the beginning of their sessions, there's one part where they talk about how in their early sessions that Derek was supposedly typing like DMAN to describe himself, okay? DMAN. And so Anna tells the mom, she's like, what is this DMAN he keeps writing, what is that? And the mom is like, oh, well, he had a therapist, back in the day who called him D-Man, okay? So that's probably what he's referring to, called him D-Man, right? And so Anna Stubblefield, from that point on, proceeds to call him D-Man. But she doesn't pronounce it D-Man, she pronounces it D-Man. And she proceeds to pronounce it D-Man the whole entire freaking documentary. She calls this boy or this man D-Man. Like, what the fuck is it's D-Man, boo. It's D-Man. It's D-Man. It's not hard. And that was another aspect of her, like, knowing better. Like, why are you changing this man's identity? Why are you now calling him she never calls him Derek. She called him D-Man the whole freaking time. Why are you it's like she was trying to usurp him and like mold him into what she wanted him to be. Changing his identity, D-Man, like, again, that white saviorism where it's like, I know better. He wants to be called this, so I'm going to be, because you decided that, right? And then, I will say this. I was a little bit confused, I'm not gonna lie, about the facilitated what's it called? Facilitated communication. I was a little bit confused about that because I was like, there was a little like some things that weren't answered in the documentary. For example, like, okay, if this facilitated communication didn't really work, then where did she get D-Man from? Like, how did she even know about that? Like, unless maybe she heard someone over, I don't know. Also, like the whole, like him having another person coming in to help him in his class. And that person had reached Sharonda. She had reported back that he was doing great, that he was, she wasn't reading anything with him. He was reading everything on his own, da 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 da. So the question is, how was he able to continue to do the work when she was doing that facilitated communication with him rather than Anna was? The documentary did say that Sharonda's roommate was in Derek's class. And I guess they were trying to hint at the fact that maybe, that's how she was getting all this information because of the roommate was in the class. I don't know. They didn't really go deep into it. But there was a little bit of like, what's up with this? But at the end, they did say, they did add this disclaimer at the end, quote, "The use of facilitated communication has been rejected by the American Psychological Association, the American Speech Language Hearing Association, and several other prominent organizations. It is still practiced in some institutions and by people across the world who insist it is a vital means for some nonverbal people to communicate." So, basically they said, this shit isn't real, but some people are still using it. So, it is a little bit confusing. I think what really threw me the most is the fact that Anna, to this day, is maintaining her love for Derek and the fact that they are in love and that Derek loves her back and that she was not guiding his hand consciously or subconsciously, that it was Derek speaking. And she maintains to this day her love for Derek. This is what she said, which was like, wow.
I'm not guilty of what they were accusing me of. If the accusation is I have some weird perversion that makes me want to molest helpless, intellectually impaired people, that's simply not the case. This whole thing is framed in terms of consent and his ability to consent because I'm the one who's accused of assault. It's all as if it was all coming from me, which is really not fair to him because he seduced me and he deserves some credit for that. Here's this guy who's so physically impaired and he got me to fall in love with him and with his words.
Did you hear that? She said, he seduced me. The nonverbal man with cerebral palsy who previously had been diagnosed as having the mental capacity of a baby, okay? He seduced her. That's what she said. She said that he deserves some credit, that he got her to fall in love with him. I wasn't there. And I don't like to call people predators because unless I know for sure. But what I will say is this is how predators talk. You will always hear these creepy predators always talking about how, she seduced me. Talking about children, mind you. Oh, she's fast. She's the one. She seduced me. They seduced me. Talking about children. Talking about women minding their business. Oh, she seduced me because she had a short skirt on. It's giving predator. Okay? It reminds me of Mary Kay Letourneau. Y'all remember Mary Kay Letourneau? The teacher who sexually assaulted her teenage student who was like 13 at the time and had a baby with him and then eventually had 2 babies, went to jail. And after coming out of jail, married this dude and stayed married to him until she died of cancer. Do y'all remember that big scandal? There was this one interview where The interviewer was basically trying to get Mary Kay Letourneau. This is like years later, the boy, Billy Fulau, he was an adult, and they had already had their 2 children. And the interviewer is sitting there trying to get her to acknowledge, listen, girl, you already did your time. You can't go back. He's an adult now. Just be honest. You know that what you did was inappropriate, right? And you know what she said in that interview? She really spent a few minutes trying to say that Billy, the 13-year-old boy, was the, quote, boss. He was the boss in the beginning. And she really tried to get Billy himself to be like, tell him, you were the one. You were the one that pursued me. You were the boss. You were the one that was in control. This 30-something-year-old woman at the time saying that a 13-year-old boy was in control of their sexual relationship. What the fuck? And it was such an awkward exchange because Billy himself is like, what are you doing right now? He refused to acknowledge it and was like, you're being weird. This sounds weird. It's weird that you're trying to get me to sit here and be like, I was the one that started this whole thing. It's weird. Look it up. If you don't remember it, look it up. It's such an awkward exchange, but it's just such a quintessential example of how predators will literally say that the people that they're preying on seduce them. The children that they're preying on seduce them. Just like this woman here had the nerve to be like, oh, he seduced me. Wow. The nonverbal disabled man with cerebral palsy. In conclusion, here's what I can say. Look, I don't know if facilitated communication works. Some people in the documentary were strong advocates of it and said that it was such a great thing and such a great tool. So, I don't want to deny the possibility that it is, a potential, has a potential benefit, I guess you could say. But here's what I do know. That regardless of what happened, Anna Stubblefield had a professional, ethical, and moral duty to have clear boundaries between her and her client. Period, point blank. Even if she believed that she was falling in love with this man, a responsible professional would have ended sessions and found somebody else to replace them. Because they would know that it was inappropriate and it was unethical and problematic as fuck to cross those boundaries, cross those lines. Period. So regardless of, whether or not this is a case of sexual assault, which I do believe it was, but at the very least, this is an issue of professional violations of boundaries. Okay? So I definitely what creeps me out the most about this is if this woman was really the one who was controlling Derek's hand and getting him to push those buttons, I think it's actually scarier if she was doing it subconsciously, let's be clear. But basically this woman created a love affair in her own head. She was having conversations with her damn self. I love you. And then she would write back to herself, I love you too. What the? When you really think about what potentially went on here, it is bone chilling. Bone chilling. Creepy, uncomfortable, and bone chilling. I'm glad that Derek is, being kept away from this woman. And I hope that he continues to live out the rest of his life in peace with his family. And this woman, Anna Stubblefield, she obviously lost her teaching license. She can no longer teach. She's now working in a restaurant and she ended up getting fired from that restaurant because of, all of the bad publicity. So, whatever happens to her happens. I don't give a damn, none of my business. But that was Tell Them You Love Me. Look it up. It's on Netflix. It is something else. And I highly recommend it. So I just want to close out on one last little story. Folks, Her Royal Highness, Princess Kate Middleton, has finally been seen for the first time in 6 months, y'all. 6 months. She was disappeared and she finally showed up. Now, for those who don't remember, we talked about her disappearance on this podcast. We went through the timeline of her disappearance. We talked about all of the conspiracy theories that were going on in regard to her disappearance. Some people saying that, she was on The Masked Singer. Some people saying that it was beef between her and Will. Some people saying that it was even worse. It was nefarious and that she might not even be with us anymore. That something went down with her and she was no longer with us, right? So there were a bunch of theories about her disappearance. And, a lot of people are really concerned, especially when all of these weird things started coming out, like the photoshopped picture of her and her family, the doppelganger, the body double that Prince William was seen with walking around town. They were trying to pass her as Kate Middleton. Weird. The AI video of her in the stripes where she gave her cancer announcement saying that she had been diagnosed with cancer, and that AI video where it's like, is that really her? Because it looks something's weird here, right? So people were really concerned and everybody was like, we need proof of life. Where the hell is she? Y'all can't be posting these Photoshop videos, having body doubles out here and thinking that we're just gonna act like everything's fine. A woman is missing, okay? And it sparked an internet debate. People were saying on the one end, like, she deserves privacy. Let her have her privacy. She's not a celebrity. And on the other side, people were like, yeah, she is a goddamn celebrity. And I agree with those people. Royals are the first celebrities that ever existed. What are you talking about? She's not a celebrity. She's got a PR team. Normal people don't have PR teams. Celebrity have PR teams, okay? She is a celebrity. And she's not only a celebrity, but she's a royal. And it is required for royals to be seen by the public. It is required that the people see their royals and know that the royals are okay. That is protocol in England and probably other places where kingdoms still exist. Okay? And so, there was this big debate about like whether or not she should be showing that she was doing okay, giving us a little proof of life. They kept telling, she canceled all these events, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what, guys? On June 15th, Kate Middleton made an appearance at the Trooping of the Colour in England. She made an appearance. She was there for the whole entire event with the kids and with Will. And I gotta say, she looked amazing. She looked fantastic. She looked great. And I did not get any uncanny valley. It felt like it was her. It didn't seem weird like those AI videos and stuff that I was like, this looks weird. This doesn't look like her. It seemed like it was her. It looked like her. She looked fantastic. She looked amazing. And because she looked so good, that triggered the rumor mills again. The rumor mills were spinning again because people are like, if she has cancer, how does she look so good? Now, of course, listen, Kate Middleton has access to some of the best makeup artists in the world. People react differently to chemotherapy. Not everybody's going to look horrible. Some people, I understand all that. But people on the internet, their spidey senses were tingling again. And they were like, does she really have cancer or is something else going on here? And people were spinning the idea that maybe this is really just a beef that she has with William. Maybe she's beefing with William. They noticed that there was a lot of chilly energy between her and William on the balcony and while they were, out and about, that there was very little interaction between her and them and him. Even some people went as far as to say that if you didn't notice, like her hat was propped in a way that blocked William from her sight, okay? And then some people closed up on her face and noticed that there was a scar over her left eye. And the internet detectives pulled out old images and they were like, she didn't have a scar before. So now people are like, was there some kind of, physical thing that happened to Kate? Did something go down? Is that why she was MIA? What the hell? And then some people are thinking that maybe Kate went under the knife and got some plastic surgery because she looks really good. She looked really good. People were pulling out her old pictures and how she looked a little aged in those pictures by comparison. And so some people were like, maybe she was under the knife and that's why she's been MIA this whole time. And it really was about cosmetic surgery. So ironically, you know, now she shows her face and everybody's still coming up with rumors, still coming up with ideas about what's going on. My opinion, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but my spidey senses are still tingling. And one thing about my spidey senses, they don't lie to me. Something is off. I don't know what it is, but something is off. My intuition is leaning towards there's some beef between her and William. That's what it's leaning towards. We all know that William be cheating on her. So I can see that as a possibility. It feels like she was like, fuck you, fuck you, William, fuck the crown, fuck everything. I'm not going to go out there and smile and show face and save face for y'all anymore. That's what I think might be going on. I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that these last 6 months have been freaking weird. And where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And when you get that like weird sense of like, what is going on here? It's usually because something shady is going on. And the royal family, you know, we know the crown likes to be hiding shit. So I hope that, you know, Kate is back and in good spirits and heals and everything is, you know, back to normal, and that I'm just wrong and that people are wrong about speculating. But I definitely feel like something was going down. Something was going down. And whether we ever find out or not, who knows? But guys, we have come to the end of another episode of No Niche Zone, the podcast about everything. Make sure you follow us across all platforms at No Niche Zone Pod. Subscribe to our YouTube. Get on that Discord, same name. You can follow me at Pris the Goddess across all platforms. And you can send in your listener letters to nonichezone@gmail.com. That's it, folks. We'll see you next time.